Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News.
Good afternoon. The news continues here as we approach 12:30. I'm Bill Bryant. Rebecca Smith in today for Barbara.
After a wintry start to our week, we're getting a little bit of break from the snow. Won't last long, though.
Doesn't sound like it. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is here now with a quick look ahead, and it's really overnight Wednesday into Thursday we're watching.
Yeah, that's going to be the issue, and I think that's the main bump in the road that we are focused in on as we get toward that time. But hey, the next 48 hours, it's a nice break. You look all across the region, Richmond at 30, Frankfort, Corbin, even Lexington approaching 30 degrees. As we continue to get into the afternoon, I think it gets warmer, probably about 8 degrees or so, 5 to 8 degrees. So add that on to what you just saw then. We'll finish off right around that 38-degree reading. It looks great, but it doesn't feel that great. Now, I will say this, 38 isn't all that bad this time of year. Going off into the evening, we're cooling things off, right around freezing this evening. You're going out to eat, whatever it may be, have to go to some stores, do a little shopping, well, you'll be just fine. It's just going to be chilly. Not much happening overnight. It's pretty calm, quiet. It's good news there for the kiddos there is we're waking up tomorrow morning. Still cold at about 27 degrees, but feeling much better in the next 24 hours. You know what that means, though. You start to warm some things up, and something's on the way. And I'll show you that something coming up in about 10 minutes.
All right, Micah, thank you. In the news here at 12:30, a very well-known Lexington hospital has a new owner this afternoon.
Officials at Cardinal Hill Rehabilitation Hospital announced they've been sold to a larger system. WKYT's Mark Barber is showing us this afternoon how it will affect patients in our top story at 12:30.
Cardinal Hill officials say the decision to sell the hospital comes after 3 years of planning. They say, like many hospitals around the country, they are facing rising costs and more pressure from regulating agencies. So they have decided to sell to a larger system that's able to face those challenges. That corporation is HealthSouth, a national health system that provides physical rehab services. Even though there will be new ownership, Cardinal Hill patients won't see major changes. The hospital isn't changing its name, it isn't moving locations, and the Cardinal Hill Foundation isn't giving up any services. Prices won't change, and officials say no one will lose their jobs. We're told the hospital will continue operating as a nonprofit with a community board of directors. Officials with the Cardinal Hill Foundation say they even hope to expand their services in the future. They tell us that right now they're looking into providing new services, possibly for people with autism. Officials say that's good news because as Cardinal Hill expands, they may add new jobs. For existing employees, the new ownership means new opportunities.
It opens up a wonderful new world to us relative to access to technology, access to training for our staff.
It may take several weeks to finalize the details, but officials say the sale of the hospital will be completed sometime in the next few months. In Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
The Cardinal Hill Foundation focuses on services that are not offered by the hospital.
A family has lost their home while out of town for a doctor's appointment today. The fire happened early this morning at a home on Paris Car Road. Firefighters say when they arrived on that scene there in Laurel County, there wasn't much they could do to save the home. The owners were in Lexington and staying in a hotel because their son had a medical procedure scheduled for very early this morning.
Blessed that they're all right. Material things can be replaced, but you know they've struggled. They're very good people, and just that she's going to be bringing her son home and no home to come to recover.
Right now, investigators don't know exactly what caused the fire. And we're tracking the investigation into a burglary in Lexington. Police say a man broke into a home on Abbeywood Road around 10 o'clock this morning. We're told that a neighbor witnessed it and wrote down the man's license plate number and then called 911. Police say they have made contact with a suspect at a home on Grace Drive, but at this point, no one has been arrested or charged.
A transgender teen who recently moved to Ohio from Lexington is missing this afternoon. 15-year-old Raymond Lane, who also goes by the name Ashley, was in Columbus with family for a Japanese anime festival over the weekend. Lane's mother says Ashley walked across the street from their hotel to the convention center for a teen dance party Saturday night and has not been seen since.
Oh yeah, very much. I have a child that has the body of a boy, the soul of a girl. What I believe about my child is that she's smart, but that she wants to be accepted. and I'm very, very worried.
The Lanes lived in Lexington for nearly 2 years. Ashley attended Bryan Station High School.
Deputies say
a man used a motel's credit card to go on a spending spree. Joseph Lee Reynolds is charged with theft, forgery, and fraudulent use of a credit card. The Scott County Sheriff's Office says he took a Lowe's card from the front office of the Winners Circle Motel. He bought several items at the Georgetown Lowe's and tried to sell them at a pawn shop. The News Graphic reports he is in jail with no bond.
it's an unusual crime. Police say a man shot an arrow at a house full of people. Berea police tell us that Jesse White fired that arrow early yesterday morning at a home on Center Street. 4 people were inside at the time. Police say White admitted to shooting the arrow from a wooded area nearby. He is now charged with 4 counts of wanton endangerment. And from the word of another ISIS beheading to last month's terror attacks in France, violence around the world continues to flare.
Today, U.S. lawmakers are getting insight on terror threats from our nation's top intelligence officials. Joel Waldman has more from our nation's capital.
The Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, better known as ISIS, claiming it has beheaded another hostage, this time Japanese journalist Kenji Goto. The fate of a Jordanian pilot held captive by the group still unknown. On the heels of all this, lawmakers in the House Armed Services Committee hearing from top intelligence officials on the threats from high-profile terror organizations, including ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Khorasan Group.
One of the challenges we have, particularly with non-state actors, is the demand for intelligence is insatiable.
Just last week, one of the so-called Taliban 5 was reportedly caught trying to get back in the terror game. The Gitmo detainee was previously released as part of a prisoner swap for U.S. Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, triggering criticism against the White House and raising more questions about the president's controversial plan to close the terrorist detention center at Guantanamo.
There's no doubt that if we release them back into the wild, they're going to go back to the battlefield.
The annual Worldwide Threats hearing also looking at countries which are potential tinderboxes. Yemen, once hailed as a counterterrorism victory, now under the microscope after the government's recent collapse, along with other troubled hotspots, including Syria, Ukraine, and North Korea. Today's hearing comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to address Congress next month. He's set to lay out the terror threat posed by a nuclear Iran. In Washington, Joel Waldman.
So light jogging may actually be the best exercise for a longer life.
In moderation, it turns
Yeah.
out. Plus, there is some new research on a teenager's screen time and sleep. Ebony Williams has the details in this Better Living report.
A new study of almost 10,000 teenagers finds the longer they spend on their electronic devices during the day, the worse their sleep will be that night. Researchers in Norway say teens who spend more than 4 hours a day on their electronics were nearly 50% more likely to need more than an hour to fall asleep. More than 2 hours of electronics after school was linked to shorter sleep. Not all women whose breast cancer has spread to their lymph nodes need to have all of their underarm nodes removed. That's the finding of a new study from the Mayo Clinic. Researchers say repeating an ultrasound after a patient undergoes chemotherapy can help determine which nodes need to be taken out. In the past, it was standard to remove all the lymph nodes, but that could cause arm swelling and limit the arm's range of motion. And jogging in small quantities may be the key to long life. Researchers in Denmark found light joggers had the lowest rates of death, while strenuous joggers were just as likely to die as healthy but non-active adults. Researchers found joggers who exercised no more than 3 times a week at a slow or moderate pace had the lowest mortality. That's a look at some of the day's top health stories. Ebony Williams, CBS News, New York.
Well, in most pageants, the runner-up usually takes the loss well, but one runner-up in Brazil didn't try to hide her disappointment. Take a look here moments after another competitor in the Miss Amazons pageant was named the winner. The runner-up grabbed the crown right off of her head and then ran off of the stage. She later released a video saying that she did not act on impulse and accused the winner of paying for her title. So there you go.
Oh, she did not get Miss Congeniality award, I guess.
A little bitterness on display there, huh?